Halloween is an event that happens sometimes annually, and to mark the occasion, The Simpsons sometimes releases a special segmented non-canon episode, giving the writers a chance to stretch their creative limits and portray the Simpson characters and Simpson world in ways we would otherwise likely never see, which has led to some rather corking segments. So given Halloween is fast approaching, or fast approach depending on when this video is done, I thought I would share my top 10 Treehouse of Horror segments. So sit back with some spooky snacks, a hot cocoa preferably topped with whipping marshmallow, and get cozy, because much like the highly underrated DVD game in Lion King 3, we're in for a ride. Number 10, the Ned Zone. Starting off with an underrated gem, after taking a bowling ball to the skull, Ned awakens to find that he can foresee the death of whomever he touches, leading to shenanigans of diddly proportions. This one's inventive, it's well paced, and all of the characters are well used, and most of all it has possibly the funniest climax in any Treehouse of Horror segment. Upon finding out that Ned has foreseen himself shooting him, Homer takes pleasure in taunting Ned, and after taking a surprisingly long time to simply point the gun away, Ned turns his back to destiny and successfully evades killing Homer, only to learn that this action or inaction has doomed all of Springfield to an early demise. We then get Ned rushing to the power plant, and through a series of hilarious obstacles is then forced to correct his earlier inaction. This one always goes by so quickly and is paced in a way where you get so much content and character moments in the 7 minutes of Simpsons. And miraculously the segment at never any point feels rushed, something I found to be a common issue amongst the more recent Treehouse of Horrors. Also a Carl cameo really helps tie the whole segment together. Number 9! The Devil and Homer Simpson. Homer sells his soul for a donut. Now, you don't need me to tell you that Flanders is the devil, a soul contract dispute over a donut, and a Lionel Hutz guest appearance is a formula that you simply can't lose with. You know that already. This segment delivers on laughs, it delivers on story, and it delivers on spook. I'm always blown away by the visuals and set pieces in this one. They don't hold back whatsoever when it comes to style. Flanders as the devil was perfect casting that almost writes itself, his casual greeting of Bart, his dialogue exchanges with Homer, and the way the show utilises the supernatural aspects of his character. There's just nothing not to like about this episode. Lionel Hutz is on fire as always, exuding a charm that is unbreakable. Unbreakable. And to be honest, I wish they kept in the deleted scene where he returns after the trial is concluded. Also, I find the scene of Marge getting everyone shares unexpectedly wholesome, and the closing gag gets me every time. I guess the only thing to say is why only number 9? And unfortunately I have to give the textbook response of I simply like the ones above it more. However, I will say when it comes to style, story beats and visual prowess, there are a few segments that can stand up to this one. Also, fun fact that you probably already knew, but when Homer first appears at the trial his head isn't attached. This is due to a deleted scene which showed Homer in hell having his head used as a bowling ball. I'm happy this was cut, as I like that after the initial chopping it's implied Homer had a relatively enjoyable time in hell. Number 8, Time and Punishment. Homer makes a time-traveling toaster. Number 7, the Genesis tub. Now this one's a stubborn nostalgia choice for me, alright? Everyone tells me I overrate it, and by everyone I mean my sister, but it's good. It's good. Lisa's simple cola and tooth experiment leads to the accidental creation of a sentient species that are evolving at an alarming rate. A marvel, a wonder, a spectacle of unquantifiable proportions, and Bart tries to break it for bounce. This then leads to the attacked species taking revenge on Bart, Lisa getting shrunk down, and why am I just walking you through the story? I find this segment to be the pinnacle of nostalgia, alright? I don't know why. I love watching how the society develops each time Lisa re-inspects it. I especially love the tooth serving as the central hub structure to the rest of the world. I may be on my own here, but for some reason whenever I think of Treehouse of Horror, this is the first segment I think of. I don't know if it's the concept, the ship scene, the rebigulator, but what I do know is this segment is consistently my most rewatched, and the one I always look forward to seeing again when binging through the early seasons. I just think it's neat. Number 6, The Shinin. Homer and his family take a trip to House in Mr. Burns' cabin. However, a lack of audio-visual entertainment and alcoholic beverages proceed to make Homer... Alright, you don't need me to talk much about this one. It's arguably on paper the best Halloween segment the show has ever produced. It ticks the box on parody, it ticks the box on spooks, and despite the segment having a strong focus on Homer's descent into madness, The Shinin ticks the box multiple times on laughs. The blood normally gets off on the second floor. Is Dad gonna kill us? We'll just have to wait and see. Give me the bat, Marge. This segment is a roller coaster from its stakes to its side-splitting hilarity. It also features some of the most iconic shots and scenes in the show's history. If I was to recommend one Halloween segment to both fans of the show and newcomers, it would be this one. It's a must-watch. Now, if this list was going on purely a technical grading of what is the overall best segment, I believe it would be a battle between The Shinin And my number 5, Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Well, he's killing kids in their dreams. This segment does an amazing job at establishing its threat and tension, showcasing Willie as a sinister yet comedic threat. It's great to see him shine in such an unexpected yet oddly fitting role, with memorable dialogue, laugh-out-loud moments that have gone down as some of the show's best. However, what this segment excels in is the way it balances the laughs with the spook. 1 second you're watching a 10-year-old face his untimely death, the next you're laughing at his corpse. You witness the horror of Willie burning right down to his skeleton, but not before he's patiently waited for the parent-teacher conference to conclude. Also, the dream sequences in general are wonderfully stylized. I could honestly and kind of want to just drag out this video by pointing out all the best moments from this segment, but instead I'll just end this entry by saying that I find it fascinating that 2 of the most well-known and regarded Treehouse of Horror segments both have a strong showing of Willie. And personally, I also do not like the idea of Milhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one day. Number 4, The Thing and I. Upon hearing strange noises coming from the attic mixed with out-of-character behaviours displayed by their parents, Bart and Lisa begin to suspect that something suspicious may be afoot, and proceed to investigate. This, in my opinion, without question, is the funniest Treehouse of Horror segment the show has ever produced. The story, the way the characters, especially Homer and Marge, are written, like seriously, Homer and Marge are on top form all episode, with Homer's emotions flipping at the drop of a hat. You also get great jokes, such as Homer and Marge's outing that was just driving in the rain as a substitute for a car wash. I also love small gags like Homer's autobiography, the vase closet fake-out, and Marge's underplayed "I'm very disappointed and terrified" upon realization that the children were in the attic. But the cherry on top for this segment will always be Dr. Hibbert showing up to deliver the best joke in any Treehouse of Horror segment, "Fight me." Number 3, Homer Cubed. In order to avoid an unwanted visit by Batty and Selma, Homer seeks refuge behind a book closet which just so happens to be in front of a gateway to the 3rd dimension. Alright, just give me the floor with this one. It's amazing how what at the time was considered a feat of experimental animation is now perhaps one of the Simpsons' most time-capsuled episodes. And the style is just gorgeous to me. The glistening water, the sparkling drool, the eerily seemingly endless and mysterious unknown world in which Homer has entered. And the thing that makes it my bronze medal? The music. The score that accompanies this episode is nothing short of transcendent. The way it helps to take what could have easily just been a "whoa, where Homer go" plot, instead gives us a more somber and almost tragic tale, where Homer, while exploring this world, realizes more and more just how lost he truly is, with no ability to even remotely grasp what he is witnessing, as it begins to dawn on him more and more that his journey home may be an impossible one. This segment made me feel uneasy, especially the ending where Homer is thrust into the real world, and the image of Homer, in a world he does not know, unable to get back to his own, with his family and everything he once knew now nothing but a memory. He walks down the street with no idea what to do next. He finds comfort in a nearby cake shop, but as the episode's credits roll and the screen cuts to black, we can't help but feel as an audience that Homer's relief will be short-lived, as what life can a recently 3rd dimension being really hope to live in our world? Number 2, Hungry Are the Damned. The Simpsons family are abducted by aliens. However, instead of being probed or killed, are instead treated like esteemed guests and are informed that they are to be taken back to the aliens' home planet. However, as Lisa begins to grow suspicious of their gracious hosts, she investigates to see if there may be more to this situation than meets the eye. This segment's an absolute joy, and it's the introduction of Gang and Kodo, so you knew it had to be here somewhere. Immediately, what always strikes me about this segment is its look. Dimly lit, oversaturated colour palette in the abduction scene especially, the lighting of the spaceship, the framing of the shots, it's all beautifully constructed. Gorgeous to look at and ignites a feeling of nostalgia in me like no other. And on top of that, the story's great, subversive, and funny. You get the family being underwhelmed by the ship's technology, or the innuendos and suspicious dialogue used by the aliens, all but surely pointing to a foregone conclusion, and of course the back and forth blowing of space dust off the cover of a cookbook. The twist, while not being tricky to see coming, is a double subversion that gives us an ending that is both humorous, sorrowing, and leaves the audience with the classic message and age-old trope that humans are the real monsters. Number 1, The Raven. Homer is in The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. This segment is gorgeous. The stylization, the animation, and the narration from James L. Jones all blend together and mix with the poem itself to give us something of real beauty here. Back when I was dishing out a collection of attempted Simpson waves, I came back to this segment time and time again for potential clip sourcing, and every time I concluded there was just nothing I could do. There was no spin or repurposing I could do to any of this segment, because nothing can be taken out or be made to be anything more than it already is. And what it is timeless. I just can't get over it. The lighting, the colour palette, the way that despite the entire segment taking place in one room, it always feels like there is movement, whether it be constant angle changes, erratic music, or rapid movement within the shots themselves. This is peak Simpsons, and not enough people acknowledge this example of a near pristine adaptation. I'm not going to tell you that this segment has the most jokes, the most spooks, or even the grandest story or scale, but what it does have is an adaptation that encapsulates everything I love about early Simpsons. The show was still developing, finding its feet, so you got experimental risks, such as allowing one of the first ever Treehouse of Horror segments to be an adaptation of The Raven that is played straight 95% of the time. And the result of that risk is a segment that is wonderful to look at, hypnotic to listen to, and is in my opinion the best Treehouse of Horror segment the show has ever produced. Well, that's my list, but the fun doesn't stop there. Here is my partner Kate with her top 3 Treehouse of Horror segments.
Hey, I'm Kate. Treehouse of Horror makes me feel cozy. Here are my top 3 Treehouse of Horror segments. Number 3. Bad Dream House. I love how unbothered the family are by the house's antics. I'll never grow tired of hearing the verbal beatdown that Marge delivers at the end of the segment. Also, given it's the first ever Treehouse of Horror segment, I feel it does a great job setting the bar. Number 2. Bart Simpson's Dracula. Having already been a fan of Bram Stoker's 1992 Dracula, mainly for its costuming, it was no shock that seeing Mr. Burns donning the famous red gown was an immediate free pass for making this list. However, if that wasn't enough to cement its place, the super fun Happy Slide certainly was. Number 1. Easy Bake Coven. Gonna be honest, I just really vibe with Marge, Paddy and Selma as witches. I also enjoy the constant witch accusations, and the ending gag does a brilliant job of teasing the audience with a wholesome ending before swiping it away, just like the witches would have swiped their shoes. Also, on a side note, this episode always makes me think of season 24's Unnormal Activity, where in a flashback Patty and Selma get bored and try to summon Satan, resulting in little Marge having to promise her favourite future child to a Mo lookalike demon. I guess I just really have a thing for this sister trio getting focus in segments, and I have to say that the image of the implied threesome between Homer and 2 demons will never leave my brain. What's the safe word? Cinnamon. Also, I would make this a top 5, however my other 2 choices are Hungry Are the Damned and The Raven, which Chris has already covered. So rather than risking making this video repetitive, you can consider them to be my number 4 and 5. Also, fun fact, it wasn't worthy of making this list, but the first segment I remember watching was Starship Troopers on Sky 1, which just so happened to be the first segment Chris remembers seeing as well. Spooky or mundane coincidence? You decide. Thanks for listening. Happy Halloween!
Hello, it's me. Thank you all for watching this video, and please let me know your favourite Treehouse of Horror segments in the comments below. Also, a quick honourable mention of Fly vs. Fly. While it didn't make my list, I have to acknowledge it for having one of the funniest final jokes in any segment. Also, it's worth noting that a good amount of my top 10 were based on episodes of The Twilight Zone, which isn't surprising, as many of the show's Halloween segments, especially in its golden era, were Twilight Zone parodies. Maybe next time I should rank all of them. As I go, I will leave you with my sister's top 5 favourite Treehouse of Horror lines. Goodbye, and I'll see you at some point.
Barks people just think our veterans deserve a little recognition. If I'm guilty of anything, maybe it's caring too much. I'm Bart Simpson.